Okay, everybody, we can start now. Piya, over to you. Thank you.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami, dhammang saranang gacchami, sanghang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami, dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami, dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami, tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami, tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami, tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Adinnadana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Kamesu miccacara veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Musawada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Surameraya Majjapama Dattana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Now let us prepare ourselves for a short sitting. We'll do a bit of breath meditation, plus a bit of reflection on impermanence. One way to sit longer is to vary your practice. Vary your practice and make it slightly different. You can mix breath with loving kindness even if you like. Important thing is once you feel calm and peaceful, keep it that way. Now breathe naturally, just as a baby would breathe. Let the air in and give it back. This act of taking air in and giving back is a reminder that we're all part of this impermanent cycle with everything connected with everything around us. This is impermanence. We cannot own this breath, even though we say our breath is just a word. We take it in, our body process it, then we breathe it out. Only then we live. So this is a very powerful reflection. Just doing this reflection itself will help you to build your good karma, because you are rooted in reality. Then you are less likely to be swayed by greed, hate, or delusion. So notice this breath coming in, goes into our body, becomes our body. Our body gives back the waste gases back into the air. In, out, in, out. Impermanence in action. As you breathe in and out, if you are sitting upright, you notice some parts of your body rising, falling. Maybe it's your chest rising, falling, or your belly. It's easier to notice the belly just above the navel, the belly button. You can notice or feel rising and falling. When you breathe in, your body rises with air. Breathe out, your body goes down. This rising, falling is also impermanence. Impermanence. This is called perception of impermanence. In this practice, we notice the change. In, out, in, out, smile. Welcome the breath. Say goodbye to it. This is the essence of Buddhism. This is essence of Dhamma. This is essence of awakening. The Buddha used this very same method and awakened. As you do this, you may notice there are gaps in between your breath. The breath slowing down. That is a sign you are getting more focus. So don't do anything to the breath, just watch it. When you watch the breath, it begins to settle down. In space, out space. Smile. Feel the peace. Notice the space. Feel the peace. If you still can't notice the space yet, it's all right. Some people take a bit longer. So watch the in, out, in, out. That is also quite peaceful. Now, anytime you like, if you notice there are distractions coming, you can go back to the counting you have learned. Choose one of the methods of counting that you like. Use that to clear the mind anytime. Sometimes if your mind is peaceful enough, just smiling at the distraction is also good enough. You hear a sound, just smile at it. You feel a little itch, smile at it. Even a slight discomfort, you can just smile at it. But if there is pain and you're not sitting properly or posture not properly or not proper, then just mindfully adjust yourself. Feel the peacefulness of the air coming in, going out. This is impermanent. In, out. We take the breath in, we give it back. We don't own even our breath. This is also the practice of true renunciation, letting go. If you do this properly, watching the in and out, after a while you will notice the gaps growing. You may also not feel your body anymore for a while. This is helpful because you won't feel pain, then you can sit longer. So just let it happen. You cannot force this, just let it happen. Now remember, if you are tired, you may fall asleep while meditating, and that's all right. In fact, it is good because you will rest. Even if you fall asleep sitting, that is good. You have rested and you wake up and continue with your practice. Learn to respect your body. Then you find it's easier to meditate. Now we come to the part where we review our practice. This is a time we remember the peaceful moments, joyful moments. Remember them. The moment of peace, sometimes just a split second, you felt very good. Remember that. This is the key. This will help you to feel peaceful and you want to meditate again in the future. Also remember those difficult parts, how you felt, what happened, so that you know what to do. You know the strategy to correct the conditions so that the distractions go away. This is reviewing your practice. You are not sure what to do with the distraction, just remember the details. Ask during question time. And sometimes when you read the suttas, you get the answers also. Review your practice. Now, we've come to the end of the sitting. Just slowly open your eyes and just sit quietly for a couple of minutes. This is called just sitting, just sitting. We begin our meditation slowly, gently. We end it also slowly, gently. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Very good. We will now start with our sutta study. Right, now just a few announcements before I start. Tomorrow is a full moon day, Asaha Puja, and it's the day when we commemorate the teaching of the first discourse, the Dhamma Chakka Bhavatana Sutta on the Four Noble Truths, Eightfold Path to the 5 months. So in a way, it is also Dhamma Day because of the teaching of the first discourse, first sutta, and also Sangha Day in a sense because the 5 monks were there, the formation of the Sangha. But actual Sangha Day usually commemorated on Maka Puja Day, which is the full moon day of Chinese New Year. Okay? And tomorrow also marks the start of the rains retreat, where monks would stay in a certain area. They will mark the border and they will stay within that place for 3 months. That is keeping the rains retreat. And then when they complete this 3 months, 3 lunar months of rains retreat, then their monastic year, or vasa as we call it, increases by 1. Vasa also means rain. Okay, so that is the start is tomorrow. Okay, vasa. And the Asalha Puja. Asalha is the name of the month. And the next thing is I share your concern, especially in Malaysia with all this rise in COVID and so on, and also a few of our friends passing away. This is the reality the Buddha has been teaching us, so here we are facing it, so we know what it's like. This is a very valuable lesson for us to learn, to take care of ourselves, and to remember that death is not the end. It's just this body has served its purpose, as it were. But our mind, our consciousness continues to a new life. We start all over again. So do take care of yourself, take care of each other, stay healthy. Very important. Get your jab, get your vaccinations. And on top of that, I'm also deeply concerned with the weather all over the place. Many of our friends, one thing about having a Zoom class like this, we have friends all over the world, and then we're always concerned about them. So you find, for example, there's a very bad floods in Germany and the Benelux area. So I'm happy that our regular friends are safe. Okay, and do get in touch, tell us that you're safe. And also in the U.S., Oregon, you have all these very big fires, and the haze is spreading to New York, New Jersey, even north up to Toronto, and so on. Again, I'm happy that my good friend in Canada is not affected, although it's very near Toronto. So these are all reminding us that things can be very uncertain. We don't assume we are very civilized as this modern world and everything is perfect, the technology, we're going into space, all these things. A lot of things can just happen like that. So be very mindful. And I think Sutta is a great help to learn to be mindful. And today is one of those really wonderful sutta, it's a simple sutta, but very profound, Velāma Sutta. Okay, so let's look at the title. Velāma is the name of a brahmin who existed long ago. In a Jataka story, the Buddha tells us. Okay, Velāma Sutta, the discourse on Velāma, the Brahmin. A 9.20. The book of nines, that means there's somewhere in the sutta, there's a set of 9 teachings, sutta number 20. And the theme is on right giving and the best practice. What is the best practice we can do especially as laymen. Okay, so there's a bit of introduction. Now there are some notes there you can read on your own, and let's go a few pages later to the translation itself. Okay, here we are. Now this sutta, Velāma Sutta, records the Buddha's teaching to a particular person for Anathapindika. You can look at the highlight here, section 1. Thus have I heard. At one time, the Blessed One was dwelling in Anathapindika's park in Jeta's Grove near Savatthi. Now, if you look at this line, the Pali is the other way around. The Pali would say Savatthi, Jeta's Forest, Anathapindika's park. Okay, that's the way the Pali often phrase their sentences. The reason is they follow what is called the principle of waxing syllables. In other words, they put the longer syllable, the waxing means growing bigger, the longer syllables at the end. So you notice Anathapindika is a very long word, so it's put at the end. But if you think logically, you would say, where is the Buddha in first? And then where is that place located? And near where? Okay, so this is my logic. So this is how I translate it, okay? Then the house lord Anathapindika approached the Blessed One. Notice, so here we have this key figure coming to see the Buddha. Having approached, he saluted him and sat down at one side. When Anathapindika was seated thus at one side, the Blessed One said this to him. Now notice something very interesting here. There are lots of things we may think, you just look, you see words, but if you are mindful, you study literature, you begin to see a lot of interesting information. Notice here, Anathapindika does not talk. It's the Buddha who starts talking. Anathapindika just comes in, goes up to the Buddha, bows down, sits down. He does that almost all the time. In fact, in all the suttas where Anathapindika is the key figure, you find he rarely talks. Just 2 or 3 suttas probably recorded him as starting to say something to the Buddha. The reason is this: he is the Buddha's chief donor. He was a very rich man, and then he became a stream winner. And then after that, he went on donating. He didn't bother about his wealth until in the end, he became quite poor. So this is the time when he was really poor, and he still gave. He still does what he can. But he's already a stream winner. He's very happy. He's not concerned about money or wealth, and he still wants to give dana. Okay, so that is why the Buddha asks him this question: House Lord, are alms given in your family? Now look at this question. There is nothing mentioned there. It's just the Buddha asking this question. Okay. Now, of course, if you look into the commentary, you may get some information, and the notes are found. This is what the SD, the Sutta Discovery series, is helpful. We put in the commentaries, explain the background, and so on. So the background of this sentence is very useful to know. House Lord, are alms given in your family? Obviously, the Buddha is not asking, are you giving alms to the monk? This is what, he comes to the monastery to give alms anyway. So here what the Buddha means is that, are you still offering food to the people? So because Anathapindika does not only give food to the monks, he also opens his house. He gives, there is an alms, like alms hall or alms pavilion, if you like, where the poor, the needy can just come and have their meals. Now we have such a temple in Singapore, quite a big Chinese temple in Kim Yam Road, where you can get free 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They're all vegetarian. It's a big hall, and there's a lot of food, really big pots. I went there, I think once or twice. The food is really good, although it's vegetarian, and it's free of charge. Of course, there are donation boxes there. We put money there. So this one temple that's been doing this for many, many years. This is Buddhist charity, okay? So here the Buddha asks Anathapindika, are you still giving alms food to the needy. Because his name anatta means those who have no refuge. Pindika, one who gives. Pindika actually balls of rice. So here it means food, right? The one who feeds the destitute, the one without refuge. Anatta Pindika, that's the meaning. So it's a kind of a nickname. His personal name is Sudatta. All right, so Anatta Pindika replies, yes, Bhante, alms are given in my family, but it consists of a coarse mass of broken rice grains along with sour gruel. So you say, I can't give much nowadays. It's just like, porridge. And so here basically Buddha's concern, Anattapindika has become quite impoverished. So, but Anattapindika said, well, I still give, but I can only give simple quality food. All right, let's find out what happens next. Now, you see here in this sutta, the Buddha is actually consoling Anattapindika. He's telling Anattapindika, it's not what you give, it is how you give. And then how to practice. How to practice. Section 2, House Lord. So this is the title. He addresses Anattapindika because Anattapindika owns house, property, land. House Lord, whether one gives a gift or gives alms that are cause or choice, when one gives carelessly, without thoroughness, one gives thoughtlessly, one gives not with one's hands, in other words, serve the monks yourself or give food to others yourself. One gives as if throwing something away or what would be discarded. In other words, you give what you don't want. It's not something well prepared. One gives without seeing what is to come or future fruit. In other words, you just give without understanding, without accepting the idea that there is goodness in it. Giving is good. So these are negative things. Carelessly, thoughtlessly, you're not doing anything, you stand by and just fold your arms and look, and then you only give things which are not needed to be thrown away, and you don't really believe there's a good thing. Now, if this is the case, then whenever that alms, his mind will not turn to the enjoyment of good food, his mind will not turn to the enjoyment of fine clothes, his mind will not turn to the enjoyment of splendid carriages, his mind will not turn to the enjoyment of the 5 courts of sense pleasures in their sweetness. So what the Buddha is saying, if you don't do this dana properly, then you won't be happy. You won't really enjoy all the good things you have. There's something interesting to think about, So the Buddha is saying we may be rich, we may have things, but we may not really enjoy them because we don't have this openness, this joy in giving others, this joy in seeing others are happy, even with the little that we give. When we see this, then we say, wow, look at the people, they're happy with these alms that I'm giving, with the little bit I'm giving, they're happy. Then you also feel happy with what you have, with the food that you are eating, with the clothes you are wearing, with the vehicles you have, and whatever pleasures you enjoy within the precepts, the 5 courts of sense pleasures. The 5 courts of sense pleasures are those of the eye, ear, nose, tongue, and body. Okay, these are, of course, in connection with the layman. This is lay talk, if you like. The Buddha is talking about lay people. Anattapindika is a stream winner, but it's a layman, so he still enjoys this simple joys of life within the spirit of 5 precepts. Then the Buddha continues, if you do not give properly, one's sons or women in the family, that is wives and daughters, or servants or messengers or workers, will not have the desire to listen to one. Somehow they will not like us, they will not really listen to us. will not have the desire to give ear, right? So even when they are there, somehow they find difficult paying attention. They will not have the desire to focus their minds to understand, right? In other words, there is no communication. Why is that? Such house lot is the result of deeds done carelessly. So if we don't have this caring for people, then people won't care for us. That's the basic logic behind this kind of karma. Okay, so here already is one set of teaching, if you like. Learn to respect others even when you offer them alms, when you offer them food. So here the Buddha is teaching him is not what you give, it is how you give. Simple food, but it still, satiates, lessen hunger. Okay, go on, further down. And the Buddha continues, and he says, House Lord, whether one gives a gift or one makes an offering that are cause or choice, when one gives with care, with thoroughness, when one gives after some thought, in other words, you think carefully, plan carefully, one gives with one's own hands, you are there to serve the people yourself. One gives not as if throwing something away. Right? You also give properly, and also those things are worth giving. One gives seeing what is to come. You know that there is benefit here. Then wherever that almsgiving bears fruit, his mind or one's mind will turn to the enjoyment of good food. His mind will turn to the enjoyment of fine cloth, the clothing, or his mind will turn to the enjoyment of splendid carriages, the vehicles you use, you'll be happy with it. Or his mind will turn to the enjoyment of the 5 gods of sensual pleasures in their sweetness. Right? In other words, here, what you see, you feel happy. What you hear, you feel happy. What you eat, you feel happy. Wherever you are, the weather will be good, something like that. I mean, you don't mind the weather, you somehow fit in, something like that. Yeah. One's sons or women, wives and daughters, or servants, or messengers, or workers will have the desire to listen to one. So they're always keen to listen. And they have the desire to give ear when you're talking, they will listen. And will have the desire to focus their minds to understand, so that they try hard to learn. Why is that? Such house lot is the result of deeds done with care. So when you are caring, you attract the same quality in others too. That's the meaning here. Yeah? So this is a very simple teaching on like begets like, something like that. Okay, this is one aspect of karma. Okay, let's go down now. Now comes the Buddha tells a story to Anathapindika. This is the main teaching of special interest to us. Okay. Long ago, House Lord, there was the Brahmin, Velāma. He made a giving, a great giving, such as these. He gave 84,000 golden bowls full of silver. He gave 84,000 silver bowls full of gold. Notice the play on words here. No? You see this kind of wordplay even in the Mahasudassana Sutta. First you see golden bowl filled with silver, and silver bowls filled with gold. Right? Now remember, this is a story of the past. This style of storytelling is said to be hyperbolic. Hyperbolic means the numbers are big, the event is big, everything is big. Okay. Remember, the Buddha was living in a time of storytelling. There are no audio visuals, no email, no social media like we have today. So the talk has to be dramatized, made bigger than it is, and people will listen. And of course, the Indian audience is such, they will know, they will size things down, okay? So 84,000 to them means, wow, okay, a lot, okay? They're not going to actually count exactly 84,000, they know it's really a lot, Okay, so there is this really rich brahmin who gives all these things away. Okay, so of course, again, this is not something. This is not about logic. This is about feeling, about joy. It's a story. Remember that story of Jack and the Beanstalk, right? If you start arguing and say, how can the beanstalk grow so high? How can the beanstalk grow into the sky? Then you won't have any fairy tales. That's why they're called fairy tales. So in a sense, the Jataka story is like a fairy tale with a very profound purpose. Okay, there is the anticlimax. This is another term we need to know. There is the opposite of all these big things. Suddenly Buddha will say something opposite. All right, so you must be prepared. So he gave, number 3, he gave 84,000 copper bowls of gems. So we know, for example, that the Buddha is aware, in Buddha's time, they have all these metals and they're aware, they know how to use this. It was the Iron Age, all right? 4, he gave 84,000 elephants, caparison in gold, covered with, gold ornaments and cloth, things like that, with golden banners, each covered with a golden net. So very visual here, and the Indian audience love all this. He gave 84,000 chariots. It's like saying cars here, if you like, chariots. Spread with lion skins, with tiger skins, with leopard skins, with saffron-colored blankets, with gold trappings, with golden banners, each covered with a golden net. Really luxurious, right? Remember, this is a story. Don't quote this and say, oh, the Buddha says, okay, we can use lion skin, tiger skin. It's not like that. It's just a story, okay? 6, he gave 84,000 milk cows, spread over with fine jute cloth, with silver milk pails. So complete, eh? So you have a whole year supply, 84,000 year supply of cows, of milk. So these are not just cows, they are milk cows. Okay, so you get supply of milk to drink. 7, he gave 84,000 maidens adorned with jewel earrings. So those days, you're allowed to give people, nowadays against the law, of course. So here again, the Buddha is not saying you can give people away. It's a story, remember. So it's to show this Velāma is a very fabulously rich Brahmin. So he gave away all these maidens to others. Not only maidens, but they have beautiful earrings. 8, he gave 84,000 couches. This is the kind of cushion you sit for meditation, to relax, the kind of cushion. Couches for lying down also, by the way. Spread over with long furred rugs. So this is all this idea of comfort, long furred rugs and coverlets embroidered with long furred rugs, right? There are covers embroidered with white woolen sheets, choice rugs of Kadali deer hide. So these are the finest things in those days. Huh? Remember Prince Siddhartha, the Buddha was Prince Siddhartha coming from the palace, remember? So he knows all this. Spreads with red canopies, it's even above it there are canopies covering. And crimson double rests, crimson pillows and bolsters for the head and the feet. So we're talking about like a lazy chair. Huh? Yeah, it's given all that away for the comfort of others. He gave 84,000 pieces of cloth, of fine flax, of fine silk, of fine wool, of fine cotton. Right, so even cloth, a lot of pieces of cloth. So this number 84,000 is a traditional figure. It means really a lot. You can't count it. And what more to say of food and drinks? Food hard and soft, food that you chew, food that you just swallow, just drink. Food to be licked and drunk. Okay, so there are 4 kinds of action in eating, right? So hard, soft, and then food that is licked and drunk. flowing like a river, I say. Like, there you are, another hyperbole. Food, so much food flowing like a river. Of course, I don't think the food actually flow on the ground, but this is a hyperbole metaphor showing that there's a lot of food. Okay. Okay. On further down. Now this big numbers. Here's only 84,000. You know. I read in today's papers that in Singapore that the government had like millions of those tracking devices, and there was an oversupply, and there was a few $1 million worth of these devices which are not used. So we do have this phenomenon in Singapore too of things, of a lot of things. Yeah? So now comes the surprise. Okay, now the Buddha says, "House Lord, you might think thus, oh, perhaps this Brahmin Velāma who gave those great gifts was someone else. But House Lord, it is not to be viewed thus. At that time, House Lord, I was the Brahmin Velāma. I made that great giving." Right? So here, this famous statement of Buddha always tells a story and say, okay, that's me, and that's Ananda, that is Sariputta, and so on. So this is in the past life. Okay. But then, here's another sort of anticlimax. But then there were none worthy of the gifts. No one purified or blessed the gifts. So the Buddha said, yeah, although I'm so actually he didn't really give all this. He was ready to give all these things, but there was no one who was worthy of these gifts. Someone who, in receiving the gifts, will make him happy, right? So, but the point is that the Buddha is saying, imagine if someone gives all these things. This is a lot of things, right? We all agree this is huge, all these givings, gold and silver and people and vehicles and so on. All right, so this is the starting. The Buddha is preparing the stage to say, okay, this is the world. Okay, you can, this is what you can give. If you're really generous, you're a millionaire. You know, you may think of giving all these things. Okay, fine. Imagine. Now the Buddha comes to the second level of his teaching, greater than the great giving, greater than all these amazing great givings. Oh, by the way, this is not the only time that the Buddha in the past life has made what's called the Mahayanya, the great sacrifice, the great giving. There are many other stories. For example, as Vesantara, the Prince Vesantara practiced the perfection, the parami of giving. In that life, he gave away everything. He left his kingdom. Actually, the story started in this way. This prince, Vesantara, is very generous, very kind. And one day, the story goes, there was this king from another country. He needed a white elephant. In those days, a white elephant, albino elephant, is a symbol of royalty. And if you have such an elephant, which is very rare, it makes a country special, and the people feel that the country will prosper. It's like something important, a symbol of the country, the icon. So this king came and said, no, I need a white elephant. And this Vesantara just gave it away, right? And that made the people very unhappy. It's like a national symbol, you know. So the people are unhappy, and the king also was unhappy, and so he banished Vesantara. Say, you better leave the palace. You're very unpopular. You give away our most important symbol of our nation, you know, the white elephant, all right? And so Vesantara leaves the palace with his wife and 2 children. And as he went along, someone comes along. He travels in this beautiful carriage, by the way. Someone comes along and says, wow, what a nice carriage you have. And Vesantara said, okay, you like this carriage? Go ahead, take it. He gives the carriage away, okay? Very generous. Then, so he went on walking. Then after that, his Brahmin comes along and say, oh, you know, I'm all alone. I need helpers, you know. I think your wife would be a very nice person to be my helper. And, you know, without a second thought, Vesantara said, okay, take her, all right? Of course, if you by modern standard, a lot of women will protest. And how can that be? This is a story, okay? That in those days, Vesantara was even willing to give away his wife. I mean, who would even think of that? And this person is going to be Buddha. So everything is highly dramatized. Someone who's ready to give anything away. Okay? It's not that he doesn't love her. It's that he is thinking of something higher. He's preparing himself to be Buddha, okay, for our benefit. And if he says, no, I can't give away my wife, then we have a problem there. We say, oh, he's just like us, right? He's not like us. He gives things which we won't even dare to dream of giving away. His wife. Okay, he moves on, and then the Brahmin says, hey, wait, since you have given your wife, I don't think you have any use for your two kids, two young kids. And then the Brahmin said, why don't you give me your two kids also? And this, this is really great literature. It's it's the last of the Jataka stories, the longest. And in Thailand, I think once a year in the traditional areas, they will recite these stories, dramatically. So of course the Vesantara said, yeah, sure, take my two kids too. Now these two boys, they're listening. These two boys are called Kanha and Yali, They were listening and said, oh no, our father's giving us away. So they ran away and hid in the lotus pond. It's a really moving scene here. These two kids hide in the lotus pond under lotus leaves. Can you imagine that? They're hiding, they're hoping nobody will find them. Their father knows they are there. Their father said, come, my sons, I've given you away to this Brahmin. He will take care of you. You must go. So it's a really powerful, moving scene. Can you imagine these villagers listening to the story and say, wow, look at Vesantara. He's willing and able to give away all these things which even we dare not think of it. All right, so he gave away all these precious things that he had. So you would think, oh, this is terrible. I don't think we can ever accept this truth. That's only the part of the story. So the story went on. It's a very long story. It's the longest of the Jataka stories. And to cut a long story short, this Brahmin, he's greedy and fat and he overeats. And this part is the funniest climax of the story. So the story when he went on eating, remember this all is in Pali poetry, by the way. Beautiful, funny, humorous Pali poetry. So this greedy Brahmin went on eating and eating and eating. He overate himself. So much so, goes the story, that his stomach burst. And this part is really funny. Here flies a chicken leg. Here flies a chicken something here, one piece of chicken. He died because he was so greedy. He didn't die in a normal way. He died in a dramatic Jataka way. The point is that bad people die terribly. Once he dies, all the gifts return to Vesantara. The wife came back, the two children came back. And then you come to the most moving scene in this Vesantara Jataka story. This is the chapter of the 6 kings. It's a beautiful chapter. It's called the chapter of the 6 kings, or 6 princes, 6 royalties, if you like. Now imagine all these people, the 6 people, they have not met each other for a long time since the Vesantara was banished from the kingdom. So they're all walking in the forest, looking for each other. So they all were moving towards this unseen center in the stage, in the story. So everyone was moving, and the parents, the king also came looking for Vesantara. They felt sorry to have banished him. It is after all their son. He's going to be the future king. So you got Vesantara, the wife, the 2 children, and the old king and queen. The 6 kings, these are called the 6 kings. They all suddenly met together at the same time in one spot. Imagine, this is high drama. All the 6 royalties see each other suddenly at the same time in the same place in the forest. They were so happy what did they do? They all fainted. They all fainted. Of course, if this was a Western story, they all hug each other, right? No, they all fainted. So everybody is so happy. I'm sure that some of the old ladies and older men will shed tears. Oh, what a beautiful scene. So everything came back. You see, although essentially gave up everything, what you give is never lost. That's the lesson. It comes back to you in that sense. Okay. Because these are not things you are giving. You're giving your kindness. You're showing your goodness. This is how we communicate as humans. Even animals share what they have in some way. See? So this one makes us really special as humans. This ability to give happily, make great sacrifices. So this is the Jataka. This is the Vesantra Jataka. So this is one of another big gift which he made. Then there's another big gift by King Mahasudassana in the Mahasudassana Sutta in the Digha Nikaya, right? And you can read up the translation. And of course, there is also Kuddadanta also made a great gift. So all these great gifts are recorded in the suttas. All right. So now the Buddha comes to this new area. Since this is a totally different gear, this is about of Dhamma practice. I'm going to have an early break if it's all right. I don't know whether it's still too early. Do you want me to go on a bit, or should we take a break now? Any suggestion?
Maybe we can take an early break since it's a short sutta.
Can, okay. Yeah. So we'll take 5 minutes.
Yeah, yes.
5 minutes. Break.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so, right. So now in this second part, we'll look at giving which is greater than all the great gifts mentioned earlier, the one that the Brahmin Velāma himself made, the Bodhisattva in the past life. So this is what scholars call an inverse scale of true practice, reverse scale from big to small. The cultivation, first of all, there is this cultivation of loving kindness. So this title actually gives away a hint of what's coming, but you'll be surprised at something else. 1, for House Lord, though the Brahmin Velāma made that giving, that great giving, were he to feed a single person endowed with or attain to right view, greater would be the fruit. Imagine, oh, this amazing 84,000 of this, 84,000 of that. The Buddha says, even better, even bigger, even more meritorious, good karma than all that giving is to offer alms to one person who has right view, who is wise in understanding impermanence, suffering, and non-self. Someone with right view. Not even a stream winner, someone with right view. It is much better. So this is the beginning of the lesson. Number 2, and House Lord, even though the Brahmin Velāma made that giving, that great giving, even if he had fed 100 persons of right view, okay, now you got multiples of 100, 100 of 1, okay, greater would be that the fruit, were he to feed a single once returner. I'll tell you what a once returner is in a while, okay? And House Lord, even though the Brahmin Velāma made that giving, that great giving, greater will be the fruit, were he to feed a single non-returner. Now, from this list, we can already guess, number 1, actually, I have to correct myself a bit, can refer to the stream winner, someone who has right view. But you can take it in a broad sense, someone with right view, including stream winner, okay? So, better than that, better than even giving 100 people, individual with right view, is to give dana, is to give food to a single once returner. Now, the thing is, again here, the numbers are symbolic. 100. Okay, notice here the Buddha doesn't say 84,000 because this is not Jataka story. This is in our own practice. 100 is not that big, really. You know, we can easily, for example, get 100 monks, 1,000 monks even, and give them offerings. You know, but here the Buddha say he doesn't say a monk or nun or lay person, just says someone with right views. So it can be both, it can be either one. So now stream winner, someone with right view, is someone who has given up what I call the three fetters. Someone without any what's called self-identity view. In other words, he doesn't identify with his body, with any of the five aggregates that constitute his being, his body and mind. He does not say, that's me, okay? He understands all these are impermanent, in other words, okay? Number two, he has no doubt in the three jewels because his understanding is clear. And number three, he is not attached to rituals and vows. You notice in religion, people like to make big statements, okay? They want to become Buddhas, they want to do this, they want to save the world, but they can't even save themselves, all right? Now, one thing you don't hear in Buddhism is about saving the world. The world cannot be saved. What is the world? We're talking about millions and billions of years. How can you save all that long period of time, right? So this is where, in another sutta, we studied about the three worlds, okay? Which world do we mean, all right? The first is the physical world of space and time. So really that, yeah, we need to respect nature, but you don't save that world. Number two is the world of beings, satta loka, okay? Again, you can't save the beings because millions of them have arisen in the past. Millions more will come in the future. How are you going to save the future? We're not born yet. It doesn't make sense to talk in saving the world in that way. Not logical. Now the third one, this interesting one, is sankhara loka, the world of formations, the world that we create in our mind and we project out. What you are seeing and hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, thinking, that world right now around you. This is the world we have created for ourselves around us. And it's how we see that needs to be corrected, that can be corrected. And the Buddha is teaching us how to do that. So that's the world that can be saved. That's the world that can be changed. Sankhara loka. Okay? So in the case of the stream winner, here mentioned as the one with the right view, he does not get involved, he does not use rituals and vows because his practice is looking within himself, understanding how his mind works. He doesn't rely on anything outside of himself. A lot of people who don't know Buddhism, the problem arises within themselves, but they look for answers outside of themselves. It's natural that they go to monks and nuns and other people. They say, "Can you help me?" And they go to fortune tellers, they go to magicians, "Can you help me?" Or they go to certain trees and worship and so on. They're looking outside. Whenever you look for answers outside of yourself to problems that originate inside you, we call that superstition. Superstition, because the problem originated inside you. You got to deal with it inside you, not to go out elsewhere and look for the answers. So doing rituals, making vows is a way of seem to be problem solving, but it doesn't really help. We were just making all these empty words. You got to be working to solve the problem inside you, understanding how your mind works and go down to the roots there and correct that attitude, that defilement inside us. So the stream winner has uprooted these first three fetters, the fetters of self-identity view, spiritual doubt, and attachment to rituals and vows. Just give a quick summary here. So if you still don't catch it, it's okay. You can message me or Ratna and say you want some details on the 3 fetters. The magic word is the 3 fetters. We'll send you some notes from the suttas to study this. All right. So here, the Buddha says, if you give to one person with a right view or Srimuna, is even better than all the gifts that Velāma has made. And if you give to one returner, is even better than giving to 100 person right view or Srimuna. So who is the one returner? Okay, the Srimuna, if he practices some mindfulness or some meditation, and he overcomes a bit more of greed, hate, delusion, he weakens the roots of unwholesome karma, greed, hate, delusion, then he will become a once returner. Why is he called a once returner? Because he'll be reborn one more time. He will return to this earth, so to speak, one more life to finish up his karma, and he will become an arahat. He will awaken to true reality. But remember that one more life can be, say, in the heavens, the high heavens that will take many, many world cycles. That can happen too. So you got to give space to the idea of time and rebirth here. But one more life to go. This is called once returner. So this once returner has broken the 3 fetters and weakened the 3 unwholesome roots. All right. So now the Buddha continues. Number 4. And house lord, even though the Brahmin Velāma made that giving, that great giving, even if he had fed 100 non-returners, greater will be the fruit were he to feed a single arahat. Okay, so we have non-returner, then we have arahat. Okay. So this non-returner is someone who does not come back to this earth, to this world. When he dies, he's reborn in the what's called the pure abodes. The pure abodes is not a planet, it's not really a world in itself. It's sort of a plane of existence of the non-returner, because this non-returner, his mind is so powerful, he's a deep meditator, he exists in that kind of mental plane or mental state, if you like. So this non-returner, he doesn't return to be reborn here, that's why it's called non-returner, and he has overcome all the 3 roots totally. He has overcome craving and has overcome the opposite of sensual lust, that is repulsion. Lust and opposite of lust, repulsion, has overcome that. No more attachment to the body, no more desire for sensual pleasures. He's happy because he's able to meditate deep jhana, deep meditation, right? So he's called a non-returner. So the Buddha says, if you give dana to 1 non-returner, it's even better than giving to 100 once returners. Okay, so it's kind of giving this increasing number of giving to whom is better, all right? But right now we assume it's about numbers. Let's just keep it that way for a moment, all right? So it's better to give to a single arahat. This arahat is someone who has broken all the 10 fetters. He has no greed to be reborn in the form world or formless world. He doesn't have any more conceit, no more pride inside him, whether it's religious pride or pride in the suttas, all that gone. He doesn't have restlessness. You see, even a non-returner has restlessness because of his compassion. He looks at the people and says, oh, look at all these people suffering, they don't know the suttas, why don't they study the suttas, So there is a bit of restlessness there. Not something bad, but because of his compassion. But the arahat doesn't have that. The arahat understands the situation, he has no restlessness, very calm. And finally, the 10th fetter is ignorance. He has overcome everything that is about ignorance. He understands the Four Noble Truths clearly. He's no more reborn. That's the arahat. So the Buddha says, if you give to a single arahat, it's even better than giving to 100 non-returners. Okay, so it's talking about here it's not just a matter of numbers, it's a matter of rarity. It's easier to find non-returners than an arahat. So this is the one way of looking at it. Then we go on from there. Okay, number 5. And house Lord, even though the Brahmin Velāma made that giving, that great giving, even if he had fed 100 arahats, greater would the fruit be were he to feed a single Pratyeka Buddha. Now, where to find Pratyeka Buddha? It's very difficult to find. It's Pratyeka Buddha. Pratyeka here is English. Actually, it's from the Sanskrit, anglicized. It comes from the Pali word Pacheka. Pacheka can mean private, individual. So this Buddha arises at a time when people are really not interested in Dharma, and he understands, but he's not able to preach. Because one reason is because people just, either their lives are very long or very short. So they won't listen to him, or they're really full of wrong views, or he doesn't have the skill to teach, but he's fully awakened. So that's the Pacheka Buddha. He's all alone by himself, and he's quite happy alone by himself. Okay, so this is the Pacheka Buddha. And next, 6. And house Lord, even though the Brahmin Velāma made that giving, that great giving, even if he had fed 100 Pacheka Buddhas, great would the fruit be were he to feed the Tathagata, Arahat, worthy one, fully self-awakened one. All right, this is very interesting. Who is the Tathagata? Is the Buddha himself. Now notice the sentence here is very different from the rest. It says, if you were to feed the Tathagata, you were to feed the Buddha. Right? And isn't feeding the Buddha the best? Not so. This is very interesting. Notice how the Buddha puts himself. It says, you feed the Buddha, okay? You feed 100 Pratyeka Buddhas. It's not as good as feeding one Buddha, one fully awakened Buddha, all right? And yet, the story is not finished. That's number 7. Let's look at number 7. And house Lord, even though the Brahmin Velāma made that giving, that great giving, even if he had fed the Sangha of monks with the Buddha at the head, greater would be the fruit were he to build a monastery dedicated to the Sangha of the 4 quarters. Okay, what is going on here? Now, we would have thought that, wow, feeding the Buddha would be the best, right? Not so. The Buddha didn't put himself at the top. He says, better than feeding the Buddha is to feed the Sangha with the Buddha. Again, where are we going to find this today? Very rare, isn't it? The time is over, right? But the idea is there. The Sangha with the Buddha is what has given us the Dharma down to this day. That is why giving Dana to them is really wonderful, if we could have done that. Maybe in the future we could aspire to do that. So here, the Buddha comes down to something practical. Say, okay, if you can't do that, something even better than that is to build a monastery to the Sangha of the 4 quarters. In other words, these monks from anywhere, they have to be monks who follow the proper Vinaya, of course. They come anywhere and they gather together to stay. They can stay in this monastery and they own this monastery, so to speak. Yeah. So this is the meaning of the monastery dedicated to the Sangha of the 4 quarters. Now here I'm very happy to tell you there is such a monastery in Malaysia. It's called Sasana Rakha. Now if you go to their website, you will see this Bante Ayasma Kachito has done something really amazing for Buddhism in Malaysia. He has opened up his forest monastery to the Sangha of the 4 quarters. So you have monks from Sri Lanka, from Myanmar, from Thailand, of course from Malaysia, I think from China also, Korea. I'm not sure whether from Japan or not, from Europe, a few places in Europe. So he has opened his center and his retreat center, all these foreign monks. It's amazing. It's so wonderful to know this. And a few of them have even come and visited me and to talk with me about certain things, you know, and they use our suttas and so on. So we're very happy to know this. Right, so you have this monastery dedicated to the Sangha of the Four Quarters. Then there's something even bigger than this. 8. And House Lord, even though the Brahmin Velāma made that giving, that great giving, even if he had built a monastery dedicated to the Sangha of the Four Quarters, greater would be the fruit were he bright with faith to take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Okay. Now this is something rather odd because Velāma couldn't do that. He was the Bodhisattva himself, born at a time when there were no Buddhas. So the Buddha is saying, if you can take refuge, wow, this is, can you imagine? It's better than giving all the gifts that Velāma gave and giving all this dana up to now, up to 7 stages of giving, you know, just taking refuge. But what does this mean? It doesn't mean now you run to a temple and say, Bhante, I want to take refuge, you know. You might go to the wrong person, right? Here, you got to really understand what it means to take refuge. When you take refuge, and you go to a monk, and from my understanding in the sutta, you can also get a layman to witness the taking of refuge. It is you declaring from now on, the Buddha is my only teacher. The one Buddha is my only teacher, the true teacher. His Dharma is the only teaching I will follow, the true teaching. And the noble Sangha are my exemplars, and I aspire to join the Sangha as a stream winner. That's the meaning, the true meaning of taking refuge. Right? So you turn yourself towards this teaching as 3 jewels. And the monk you go to is the witness. Now notice we sometimes have the wrong idea that when you go to a monk to take refuge or a nun, you become his student and he is your master. This is Chinese Mahayana idea of master follower, master slave, whatever, you know, attitude. No, this is not what's meant here. Here means you commit yourself to the path. You take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. Please remember this. This is the true meaning of taking refuge. And this is better than building a monastery to the monks of the 4 quarters. Why? Because you are aspiring to awakening yourself by taking refuge. Further down now. Right, so now, further down. Right, okay, 9. And House Lord, even though the Brahmin Velāma made that giving, that great giving, even if he had bright with faith taken refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, greater will be the fruit were he bright with faith to take upon himself the training rules to abstain from taking life, to abstain from taking the not given, to abstain from sexual misconduct, to abstain from false speech, to abstain from strong drinks, distilled drinks, fermented drinks, that which causes heedlessness. Okay, so let's just stop there for a while. So here, notice, you don't stop in taking refuge, right? Sometimes you hear people say, oh, I've gone to this famous monk, I've taken refuge under him, you know, I went to the Dalai Lama to take refuge even. Wow, it's like a label. You've worn this nice label. It's like someone, you stand to the next president of a certain country and say, oh, nice photo with him, and you put it on Facebook. It just shows you are less than that person you stood with. I'm not sure what's the glory or virtue of such a picture anyway. So here, taking refuge, and you stop there, it's like that too. So even greater than taking refuge is to keep the precepts. That is taking refuge in action. You actually walk the path. So there you are. If someone asks you, where do I see the 5 precepts? Where in the suttas are the 5 precepts given? Where can you prove to me the Buddhas of the 5 precepts? This is one of the many suttas where the 5 precepts are concerned together with the 5th precept, because sometimes you notice the 5th precept is not mentioned, but here everything, the precept that we observe and mention, just the way as we practice it. Okay. There's something else here. The Buddha says even bigger than this, right? Notice, I'm going to read the missing line now. Greater would be the fruit were he to cultivate a heart of loving kindness. Wow. Right? Not just cultivate the heart of loving kindness. Look at the time. You don't need to sit for hours, you know. For even just as long as it takes to tug at the cow's teat to milk it. The Buddha is using a very homely metaphor. You just go to the cow shed and then you just get a cow, it's fed with milk. You just pull the udder and then milk comes out. Just that moment. That long you do metta, right? So people will say, oh, I can't meditate. You just need that long. You say, may everyone be well and happy. That milk comes out, the cow's teat already. That's all you need. Before you sleep, one thought. When you wake up, one thought. Anytime you have time, that one thought of loving kindness, your mind opens up, like you insert a key into the door and then you turn it. Nothing, no big deal. You don't have to sit for hours. Just do this. And we are running away to teachers and teachings and books and so on. And this practice is so simple. Do it. This is what the Buddha is telling us. It's so simple. There is another metaphor, very similar one. For even just as long as a whiff of incense fragrance, you get this bit of smell of nice incense fragrance. So these are just a metaphor to show impermanence, just a short while. If you show that loving kindness, the value of the practice is already there. Now comes near the ending already. So we have this last section. The Buddha says, for house lord, even though the Brahmin Velāma made that giving, the great giving, greater would be the fruit were he to feed a single person endowed with or attain to right view, and were he to feed 100 persons of right view, and were he to feed a single once returner, and were he to feed 100 once returners. So what's happening here? The Buddha is summarizing everything he said. Okay, 100, 100. Okay, 1% of right view, 100% of right view. You feed one once returner or 100 once returner. Then a single non-returner, you feed 100 non-returners. You feed 100 arahats, a single arahat, you feed 100 arahats. You feed a single Paticca Buddha, or you feed 100 Paticca Buddhas, or you feed the Buddha himself. You offer dana to the Buddha himself, or you build, or you feed the sangha of monks with the Buddha at the head, or you build this monastery dedicated to the sangha of the four quarters. Okay, further down. Further down some more. Yes. Right. So. And were he bright with faith to take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha? Were he bright with faith to take upon himself the training rules? And then the 5 precepts are listed. Notice here in these 2 sentences, bright with faith is mentioned. Pasanna. No? You take refuge not merely as a ritual, but it is out of the joy of faith, of wanting to learn, of knowing this is a true way, and you want to learn. The faith moves you on, right? You take refuge, then you keep the precepts, the 5 precepts mentioned there. Then the Buddha continues and say, greater would be the fruit were he to cultivate a heart of loving kindness for just as long as it takes to tug at a cow's teat to milk it, or for just long enough to have this whiff, a slight smell, a hint of incense fragrance, incense sweetness. Now comes the clincher, the conclusion, the Buddha's message for this long, amazing sutta. The Buddha says, above all this, even better, the best, greater still would be the fruit were he to cultivate the perception of impermanence. Look at the words there. The perception of impermanence, anicca sanya. Not just that, He didn't say sit for hours. He says for even the moment of a finger snap. Finger snap, even shorter than it takes to milk a cow. Is that too much to ask? Right? So there you are. I've been saying this again and again, that we should cultivate position of impermanence. There is even a certain learned monk, some monk with titles, venerable doctor or something. He gave a talk and said, oh, the Buddha never, in the sutta, you don't see the Buddha ever teaching lay people to practice perception of impermanence. Sadly, I must say, this learned, whatever you call him, priest, Himi, he has not read the Velāma Sutta. And there are countless other suttas which talk about perception of impermanence. That's a bit troubling, isn't it? Because just because a layman says we should practice perception of impermanence doesn't mean it is not. The Buddha made it so easy, It's the way that Dhamma is taught to us. This is the practice we can do as lay people. So the excuse is, oh, it's very difficult. We can't be arahats, This is a lame excuse. Why? So that we will support the monks and nuns with dana, with money, and we depend on them. We become dependent on them. That is not healthy, because the purpose of the true monk and nun is to make us independent in our practice. There's a special word for that. It's called aparapachaya. Aparapachaya. Apara means not another. Pachaya, depend, not to depend on others. We become independent emotionally. We are happy for ourselves. And that way we can make others happy also. That's the stream winner's quality. Okay. So here, the final message is practice perception of impermanence even for a moment of a finger snap. You have done that many times over today when you watch your breath. You watch the impermanence of the breath. Our dear friends, neighbors have passed away through COVID. Wow, those are really powerful reminders of impermanence. Reflect on that. See how true the Buddha's teaching is. This is a reminder for me. All this life itself is impermanent. This breath is impermanent. That's what you must remember. The whole root of the event. What does it mean to you? This COVID is teaching us Dhamma, very powerful Dhamma all over the world. Impermanence, suffering. So be mindful. This is the message of the Velāma Sutta. Everything is impermanent. Practice it. You will reach the path in this life itself, for sure. There's the 10 suttas in the Okanta Samyutta, chapter 25 of the Samyutta Nikaya. So sadhu, I end the talk here. We go to question time.
Thank you, Brother Piya, for the insightful teaching tonight. We are open for the question and answer. Please feel free to ask question. I'll pass to Sister Aisin. Sister Aisin.
Thank you, Wendy. And thank you, Brother.
You echo, a bit of echo, Exen.
Yeah, Sister Aisin, your video is not on. And also a bit not stable, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I checked all my video.
Okay, then I just
should I take over for a while till you,
Yeah, okay. So Exen, you try to sort it out. Meantime,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, there is a question from Pochi. The question is there a significance in the number 84,000 mentioned?
Okay, remember I was telling you about this, the Indian storytelling tradition. You have very big numbers, 84,000, and then you have 100 is more practical for our daily life, okay? Of course, if we want to talk about numerology, talk about symbolism, you can, see. 84,000, right? The 3 zeros represent past, present, future, 3 periods of time, okay? The 8 represents Eightfold Path, and the 4, the Four Noble Truths. Okay, that's one way of looking at it. Okay. Of course, if you know numerology, you might go deeper into it, but I don't think I will go that way. So as I said, you got to remember storytelling, very big, all right? So these folks who have no benefit of the mass media we have today, that's their mass media, big numbers in those days. And there's a time when mathematics was also beginning to become a science in ancient India too. Okay, all right, next question.
Okay, thank you, Brother Piya. So far, there's no more question in the chat box. Any questions from the floor? Please feel free to ask.
Okay, Exim is back on
Yes.
screen. Are you okay, Exim? Your
Exim.
screen is okay now, right? Good, very good to have you back.
Hopefully it's okay.
Yes, very good.
It's on and off.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, it's not your fault. Yeah. Okay, go on.
Okay.
There's no more questions in the chat box at the moment.
Anyone can put up their hands.
Yeah, any brother or sister who would like to ask question can raise your hand and.
Oh yeah, Ryan's hand is up.
Oh, Ryan. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Bante, further to the 84,000, we said Buddha has got 84,000 suttas.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Is there?
Yeah, again, I would rather take it as symbolic because it's really difficult to count the number of suttas, and anyone who has studied suttas will know the different ways of counting the suttas. For example, the commentator will say there's so many thousand Anguttara Nikaya suttas, especially Anguttara Nikaya, quite tricky. It depends how you count, see, because especially of the Peyalas. Peyalas are the etc., where the sutta specialist or the sutta compiler, he will take a teaching and then he will take all the different, what should I say, different topics that the Buddha teaches, and he will put it for each of the teaching into a cycle. So you have to count each of them, right? So you get the thousands of that if you count that way. And some suttas, if you look at the translation of the Anguttara Nikaya, some of them can be as short as just 2 lines, okay? Especially at the start of the sutta, you find there are only 2 lines. So you can imagine 84,000 means a lot. So I don't think you can exactly get 84,000. Maybe more, maybe less, I don't know. No one ever really tried to count exactly how many. Okay, so it means, as I said, in the case of the sutta, we can use the interpretation I mentioned earlier. 8 means Eightfold Path, 4 is Four Noble Truths, and the 3 zeros are 3 periods of time. These are the truth that is eternal. So this is the number game, if you like. Okay, ancient numerology in early Buddhism. Any numerologists amongst us? I once knew someone, a Buddhist, was a numerologist, but I don't think anyone is a numerologist today. Okay, go on, please, Exim.
Brother Piya, may I ask a question? Liu Gyok here.
Okay, thank you, Brother Piya.
Yeah, sure.
From the perception of impermanence,
yes,
or with the perception of impermanence, how far is one from Nibbana?
Oh, 7 lives at the most. If you attain the path, 7 more lives at the most. Okay, that means as a stream winner. But remember, 7 lives depends what you are reborn as. If you're reborn in the higher planes, very long lives. You see, the thing about why there's urgency of doing the reflection of impermanence is we don't want to go down into the subhuman plane. The rule is this, what we're not told is, if we go the way we are going without taking refuge, without practicing the reflection of impermanence, we're heading south. We're heading into the subhuman planes. We'll be reborn as cats and dogs, as pretas, as asuras, as these hell beings, because of the negative minds that are prevalent in us. On the other hand, if we reflect on impermanence regularly, then we have this anchor. Our minds are anchored the idea of impermanence, that, oh, why hang on to this? It's all impermanent. Let go of it. Don't get angry. Don't get greedy. Don't get upset. Let go of it, right? So you feel there is this peace. And so you're building up this habitual good karma. This karma goes on. In fact, many of you here, you have been building up lots of habitual good karma. Occasionally we get angry. Occasionally we do something silly. But the trend is there is this regular habit of good karma motivated by impermanence. So the Buddha says, according to the Anicca Cakka Sutta, the chapter 25 of the Samyutta, S25, there are 10 suttas that you can take any of the sutta. The first one is on the 6 senses. There the Buddha says, if you reflect on impermanence, you will attain stream winning in this life. Wow, that sounds rather too easy, right? But when you read towards the end, the Buddha says, if you do not attain stream winning in this life, you will certainly attain it at the point of death, at the moment of dying. Then that struck me as a yes, that's the answer. Because when we die in this life, the habitual karma will take over, right? Now, don't listen to those people who tell you the last stop moment will decide. This teaching is not found in the suttas, all right? The normal teaching that we find in the sutta is that the habitual karma will be the one deciding that, last moment. So this idea of impermanence, all these things, it's like what you dream, the kind of dream that you have shows the kind of things you think about the life you've been leading, right? So you have to improve that habitual karma. Keep on reflecting on impermanence, then you have this reality check. You know when to rein back. So, oh, this is not worth pursuing. I'm happy the way I am now. Or I'm not going to get caught up with all these silly capers and so on, right? So this impermanence gives you that reality check, that protection, that insurance not to go out and get into silly situations which make you all flustered out, all angry, all upset, and losing control. That's why impermanence is a very helpful practice for lay people. Right? You don't need to sit long hours of meditation. In your waking life, remind yourself of impermanence, the reality and truth of impermanence. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Piya. Sister Pochi has raised her hand. Sister Pochi?
Brother Piya,
Yes.
can you please explain?
Yes. Say again, please.
Can you explain again the
Yes.
part about Tathagata and Buddha? I'm a little bit confused there.
Yeah, that is a very important part. Yeah, it's good to ask that question. Okay, even if you don't have the sutta in front of you, it's okay. In section 6, the Buddha say, even if you have to feed the Tathagata, feed the Buddha. So here, the Buddha only mentioned one Buddha. It doesn't say you have to feed 100 Buddhas. It doesn't say that, is it? Right? Because there's only one Buddha in the universe. So after that, it goes on to talk about the Sangha with the Buddha at the head. So this shows that the Buddha is emphasizing the idea that you only need one Buddha at a time in one world system. Okay.
Was he referring to himself?
Yes, in this case, he was offering to himself, yes, because he's the only Buddha now. But by now, when we read the sutta, he's referring generically. It can be any Buddha at any time, but one Buddha at a time only, always.
That means when he was talking at that time, he wasn't a Buddha yet.
Oh, he is. He's the Buddha. He's saying, so he's putting himself in context. You notice he doesn't say, if you give to me only, you see. He's putting himself right in the middle of all this. All right, so he's mentioning, and he's speaking as Buddha. It's like a chairman. You're speaking as the chairman. You're not speaking by name. He's not speaking as Gautama. He's speaking as Buddha. You get the idea? So he's also referring indirectly to Buddhas of the past, Buddha of the future, one at a time. The principle is one at a time.
Thank you.
Yeah, clear enough?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Brother Piya.
Sure.
The next question from the chat box is from Lin Ka Hong.
All right, sure, go on.
Yeah, Brother Piya, will you please explain the meaning of aparapachaya again?
Oh, sure.
Thank
Okay, aparapachaya, I've explained this in some detail in the article, Sutta Discovery article on the three fetters, if you want to know more. Now, when you reflect on impermanence, when you have loving kindness, you find that other people's happiness are just important as yours. You don't put yourself first. You don't even think in terms of self, because you understand that you can only be really happy when people around you are also happy. All right. Take love, for example, right? People who are selfish say, why don't this person love me? Well, the answer is quite simple. It's because you don't show that love. Eric Fromm, in his book called The Art of Loving, makes a very important statement. The whole book is, the key word is one line. He says, love is not something you can ask for. Love is something you must give. Love is only love when it is given, but not when asked for, you see? So kindness also is like that. You be kind to others, then they'll be kind to you. Now, once you do this, you find you're not dependent on others. You're not emotionally dependent on others. You don't need the love of other people. You don't need the kindness of others, because you are overflowing with loving kindness, so to speak, with kindness and loving kindness. And because you get back what you give, right? The key teaching here about giving is, whatever you give is not in vain. There is a sutta which keeps saying that. Whatever you give is not in vain, it will come back to you. I'll give you a simple example. I've been sharing my suttas to many of you. And one day my system crashed, Suddenly I realized, oh, no more sutta. I have no more suttas that I have put together, There was one time it was really scary. Imagine 10 years work at that time. Now it's 20 years. Next year it'll be 20 years. That was like 10 years. And I said, oh, God, because the computer crashed. Then I said, oh, yeah, I've been giving it to people. So I message people, I say, hey, can you please give back, send me this sutta that you have? I mean, all they need to do is just send me a copy, you see, nothing is lost really, it's all pixels, So I got back what I have lost. Nothing is lost really. So this is the one example of the blessing of giving, of generosity. This goodness will come back to you. Okay? So, and then there's another example where an old friend, after like 30 years, this guy has become a big boss. So he comes to me and says, oh, I was your student many decades ago. I'm so happy you taught me loving kindness. It helped me a lot in my life, So there you are, you get this return of joy to you, right? Something like that. So what you teach, what you give comes back as joy. Okay?
Okay, thank you, Brother Piya. Brother Patrick Poon raised his hand. Could you please unmute yourself?
Yes, go ahead.
Hello, I'm Brother Piya.
Yes.
You said moderation is karma, right?
Moderation is karma, yes.
So what is the Pali word for those actions that is not moderation? What is the Pali word for those actions there's no moderation?
Kiriya. Yeah. The actions of the Arahat, action of the Buddha, we said to be kiriya. Kiriya means no karmic effect. Okay, karma, opposite is kiriya. Okay? Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Thank you, Brother Piya. Sister Pochi has another question.
All right, sure.
Brother Piya. Brother Piya.
Okay, yeah, where are you?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, yeah, can see you. Yes.
Yeah. You mentioned about giving. So
Yes.
I was thinking when we give clothes away, those are the clothes we don't want anymore.
Oh, okay.
So is it bad or good?
All right. Okay. Basically, what the sutta is saying is there are two ways of interpreting that line. You don't, sometimes people they throw things, instead of giving, they just throw. So it's quite rude. You feel funny, You feel like you're a dog or something. You just throw something at you like that. So the idea is to give with kindness, and you feel people say, oh, this person is not looking down on me. This person is being kind to me. That's the idea. Okay, I think that's the sense of it. And of course, if you can give things which are really useful to others, that will be helpful to them. That's the meaning. But what you don't need is definitely won't be wasted. You can give others, and that's useful to others. So I don't think that would be negative. I would take it as something positive. Even old clothes, and you find in some countries, even old clothes are really precious to them. We used one time in Singapore, we used to collect used computers, then we refurbish them, and then we send them to Myanmar. There was one time this one group did that. So remember, there's this level of poverty. Some people don't have the basic things we have. So when you give them, they're very happy. But of course, you have to be very careful when you help them. You don't change their lifestyle, right? Sometimes, some of the Western observers, they say like, we go to some of these upcountry areas, remote areas, and then we introduce so many new things, buildings. We have to be careful not to disrupt their social system where they help each other, because sometimes you have one group, you don't have another group, then you create some tension among themselves. So that instead of helping them, you cause a bit of social disruption. So you have to do it very carefully, very wisely when you help that kind of way, where you go out there in a big group and you do big dana, This is very common with the God religions. They try to convert others using this kind of approach. So dana must be done wisely. And the best dana you can give is to teach people how to grow things for themselves, how to build things for themselves, how to be self-supportive. That is the best dana, the gift of knowledge, the gift of wisdom, education, for example. Yeah. These are just, some thoughts I have. Okay, go on, please.
Thank you, Brother Piya. At the moment, there is no more question in the chat box.
Okay.
Any brother or sister would like to raise your hand to ask questions?
You have about 10 minutes. So just matter of time, people will ask. We still got 10 minutes more. And tomorrow is Al-Salha Puja, remember? So,
okay. Sorry.
Yes.
You saying cannot, sorry.
Okay, I said tomorrow is Al-Salha Puja, it's a precept day. You can do a simple observation at home, for example, not taking dinner. So take a good lunch before the sun crosses the meridian, before noon, and then keep celibate that day, no sex. So in other words, you focus all your energy within, do some reflection, read some suttas, do some meditation for one day if you can. Yeah, a simple act of just not taking a meal for one day until dawn the next day. That also is a wonderful act. So tomorrow is a full moon day. Okay, the Dhamma day, which it commemorates the teaching of the first discourse, the Buddha's first sutta to the 5 monks, and also the start of the rains retreat, Vasa, for the Theravada monks. Okay, back to questions.
Okay, thank you, Brother P.
Sorry.
There's question.
I have something from Ryan. I can read out for you.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
The thing goes like this. Bante, on an unrelated matter, I have been given this book, Daily Buddhist Devotions by Venerable K. Sri Ramananda. Have you seen this book? Is it authoritative for reference?
I can't remember. I may or may not. Yeah. No, I don't recommend books. I mean, if you do daily puja, it's best done with suttas. You take a certain sutta, that's Buddha word, you see. Because many of these words we just recite, and then we have done something, we say, okay, I've done it. So it's more like just a list of things, and then we forget about it. Whereas when you read a sutta, you can just take a random sutta. You can try this. You say, okay, you have your sutta book, you just take one part, you read it, and then you find something interesting, and that helps you, right? So you do this every day, one section every day, a bit here. You even, as we say in Malaysia, you tikam, you just open somewhere one chapter, one page, and then read that part, and you find there's something interesting there. All right, and then later you say, oh, I like this, and then you follow up. That's better than doing puja, reciting just the virtues without reflection. Later on, when you understand suttas better, then that kind of puja becomes meaningful. When you recite iti piso bhagawa, the meaning arises in your mind, and then you're so happy reflecting on the meaning. Okay, it's like children reciting those nursery rhymes. They know the story, they feel very happy reciting it. Something like that. So when you read a sutta, you get that kind of feeling also. So this is my view and experience from how to feel the Dharma, not just rituals and vows. Okay? Of course, there's nothing wrong to read if you like, but really my advice is the sutta talks back to you and gives you new things, always new things you have not heard before. This is one of the benefits of the suttas, rather than, because Buddha's time, there's no such puja, by the way, okay? So why not go to the Buddha word? Time is passing so fast, okay? So spend time with the suttas. I've spent, next year, I'm looking forward to volume 60, which I'll be doing end of the year, and that will mark 20th year of sutta discovery. I told myself, wow, time flies. And what makes me really happy is whenever I have a problem with the sutta, I look up that particular word. I've already written it somewhere years back. So now my son has been helping to index all these suttas and so on. So I look it up. So I told myself, wow, this is so easy. It's all there. I just get them and then put them together in the footnotes, and then for your benefit, it saves you a lot of time. Give you a longer life in that sense when you read the suttas. Okay, so this is good karma coming back to help us, to serve us. Okay, any more questions? 5 more minutes.
Yes, Brother Piya. Another 2 questions.
Sure.
The first one from Sister Annie. Could you please explain the difference between Buddha and the Pachaka Buddha?
Oh, sure. A Pachaka Buddha is someone, he's like a Buddha. He arises at a time when either the lifespan of human beings are very short. According to one sutta, the Chakravati Sihanada Sutta, the lifespan of human beings can go down as short as 10 years. The lifespan 10 years. So when they reach 10 years old, they pass away. In other words, the rate of maturation, the metabolic rate is very high. By the time a girl is 5 years old, she's ready for marriage. So we're talking about the metabolic rate speeds up, so very short lifespan. Life is too short for them to even think of to listen to the teaching. So there'll be no Buddhas at that time. Then on the other far end, you have this lifespan where they go beyond 100,000 years. According to the sutta, it's possible. And their lifespan is so long, and they'll be laughing at us when we talk about impermanence. So again, if this wise Arahat arises at that time, he'll be called a Pachaka Buddha, but he won't be able to teach. Okay, so Pachaka Buddha sometimes is said to be a silent Buddha because he doesn't teach or he cannot teach. Right? The Dhammapada commentary has got stories about the Pachaka Buddhas. So they arise at a time when there is no teaching, and they do not teach also. I suspect they do teach to individuals, but they don't make it big like the Buddha himself. Okay, so that's the Pachaka Buddha. Okay, any other question?
Okay, thank you, Brother Piya.
Yeah,
yes, the next question from Brother Tan Kim Si.
Yeah, sure.
To be rooted in the perception of impermanence, to fully understand that all phenomena are impermanent.
All what? Sorry.
Then there is sense of
I'm sorry, last part is lost.
self.
Uncatered.
I missed the last part.
Of impermanent. Phenomena are impermanent.
Ask again, please. Oh, Kim C, can you remember the question?
To be rooted in the perception of impermanence,
Mm-hmm.
to fully understand that all phenomena are impermanent, then there is a sense of non-self. And with non-self, there is no dukkha, sorrow, and pain. Is that the sure way, Brother Piya? Is that the sure way of stream entry? And can we achieve in this lifetime?
Even if you don't reach the level of realizing non-self, you still can attain stream winning. Because its non-self teaching is very deep. Only the Arahat is able to understand that. So if we are able to understand the nature of impermanence, we see our body, our mind as impermanent. We're not attached to it. So we don't identify with our body or mind, right? Yeah, we have this idea. It's an intellectual idea of non-self. But somehow we are still, when in danger, we still think of ourselves, right? So there's the non-self is still not strong there. Intellectually, yes, but spiritually, something missing. However, the idea of impermanence knows, okay, there's no way we can be attached to this body, it changes, right? And then we have no doubt about it. We're very clear of the teachings, and we don't depend on outside magical things and all this, chanting for blessing, that kind of thing. We don't need it. We are happy. It's not that chanting is bad. It's just that we are happy the way we are. We are confident. We know how karma works. We know how the mind works. So we are emotionally independent in that way. That will bring us on to being stream winners. So breaking the three fetters of self-identity view, doubt, and attachment to rituals and vows. So you may have some idea of suffering, yes. You may even have a glimpse of non-self, but those are very profound teachings, right? It's unlikely that a normal person will go that far. But it's enough for us to attain stream winning. That's the wonderful teaching here given by the Buddha. Okay, I hope that's clear enough.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Brother Piya.
Yes.
Sister Pochi raised her hand.
Yeah, sure. Last question,
Sorry, Brother Piya, one last question.
No problem, yeah, no problem.
For somebody new to Sutta, is there a book that you have got like many suttas in one book, like a summaries, because some suttas are too long, just one book in one sutta. Is there just one book with many suttas?
Okay, Achan Sujato has done that. He has put together quite a readable book, the way you mention it. I wouldn't recommend it to you because you all are more advanced. This kind of book just give you a quick summary, and then in the end, you don't really know what the sutta is talking about. It's like you listen to a piece, you listen to Beethoven's symphony, you just listen to the first part, okay, finish, that's it, but you don't hear the whole symphony, you see. But you can begin there, okay? So he has this book, he has summarized, I think, the whole of the Sutta Pitaka, So he's quite prolific in that. So you can begin there. So you tell your friend, you read through this. When you find something interesting, you highlight it, you make a note of it, note the number, then we will help you with the sutta.
What's the name of the person again?
Sujato.
Sujato.
Sutta Central. Sutta Central. It's called Sutta Central. You key in Sutta Central. Is the biggest Buddhist website in the world, the Empire State Building of Buddhist Suttas. Okay, it's there.
You. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Now, very good. We have any more last questions? That's it. Huh?
Thank you, Brother Piya.
Okay.
No more question.
Yeah.
Today. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Time's up. Also.
Sorry. There's One question from just come in from Brother Jayesh Kaur.
Okay, sure.
He's asking, when one can perceive impermanence, does it mean one has a glimpse of sotapan?
In a manner of speaking, but the teaching is simply reflect on impermanence. Okay, don't wonder, am I getting stream winning? Am I getting stream winning? It doesn't work that way. Okay, it's not a status. It's not a status. It is how do we change our life? How do I direct my mind so that it doesn't go here, go there, doesn't go haywire? That's the meaning. Impermanence has the ability of anchoring our mind and our life. Okay? All right, I think we have gone beyond time already, right? So we're finished. So we have another session coming. So you can join us and ask more questions, all right? So,
yeah. Okay, we closed for today. Thank you everyone for your questions.
all right, now's the time for us to spend a quiet moment. This is the time for us to send our thoughts to all those people who have difficulties because of COVID and all the natural disasters everywhere. Send your thoughts to them, communicate with them, keep in touch, give them whatever support you can, all right? And send your metta to them, all the good deeds you have done, dedicate to them. And also remember, by all this good we have done today, we have gathered together here, we have sacrificed some time to recite the refuges and precepts, to practice our meditation and listen to the Dhamma. May we grow in wisdom. May we have good health. May we age with grace, and our wisdom grows as we age. So stay healthy, physically, mentally. That way you can study the Dhamma better and benefit others too. Have fellowship with others. Make friends to the Sutta, to the Dhamma, so that you have something wonderful to share with each other, because it's very challenging to be a Buddhist today. And it's also very rewarding to be a Buddhist today who follows the teaching of early Buddhism. With those thoughts in mind, let us bow 3 times with words of salutation to the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi. Bow down. Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami. Bow down. Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. Bow down. Okay, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. The blessings of Asaha Puja Dhamma Day to everyone all over the world, especially tomorrow. Yeah?